Stop me if you've heard this one. The year is 2005. An animation student is interning at Nickelodeon Studios, but this isn't a happy story. The intern goes on to describe a freak occurrence in the editing room of the cartoon Spongebob Squarepants. See, he and other editors were supposed to be reviewing an upcoming episode titled Fear of a Krabby Patty. However, the title card that appears is entirely different. It reads, Squidward's Suicide. The group watch in horror as the episode plays out. The animation is odd, hyper-realistic at parts, and much more mean-spirited than SpongeBob's usual tone. After Squidward is booed at a clarinet concert, he returns to his house and begins sobbing, alone. Subliminal shots of real human murders are spliced into the animation, and it ends exactly as the title would imply. According to the story, SpongeBob creator Steven Hillenburg is called down to the studio, sees it for himself, and is furious at whomever sullied his show. The narrating intern does float a theory that someone in the animation chain might have messed with the footage, but then says that the changes took place within 24 seconds of the initial viewing, implying it can only be supernatural. And that's it. No other explanation, the story just ends. If you didn't already know, this is a creepypasta, a bite-sized horror story, an internet tall tale.
It's spooky.
And it's entirely fictional. The writer ID'd himself on Reddit and wrote that he was kinda happy with how far his story spread. He thought it would immediately fizzle out. There are a lot of creepypasta stories on the internet that follow this model. So many that most creepypasta websites have a subcategory for it. The Lost Episode. I first read this one like a decade ago. It was the first of its kind I'd ever read, and as a young teen, it terrified me. I thought it invented the genre. But as the original writer also said on Reddit, he wrote it after reading two other stories, Suicide Mouse and Dead Bart, both of which follow a similar plotline of an evil piece of found footage featuring Mickey Mouse and Bart Simpson, respectively. And God, there are so many more. One for every popular franchise ever. In this episode, I want to go beyond this. First, I want to examine why these stories are so effective, why they can feel so real. Then, I want to ask, has this ever happened before? I mean, in real life. No, not realistic animation or crime scene photos in a kid's cartoon. I just mean, of all these famous kid-friendly franchises, what was left on the cutting room floor? Locked away. Perhaps just lost. And I was kinda surprised by what I found, so buckle up. First off, why are these stories scary? Well, for one thing, the amount of detail is admirable. Just read Squidward's Suicide. The narrator has a believable job as a wide-eyed intern. They talk in depth about the SpongeBob franchise itself in 2005. There is lingo about the animation editing process. It all immerses you, and you think, well, if this were a lie, they would have had to go to a lot of trouble researching. Which maybe they did. But I think it goes deeper, further, back to being a kid. Kids are vulnerable, easy to take advantage of, and some grown-ups do. Look no further than my YouTube Kids video for proof of that. More so, your memories of being a kid are hazy. Over time, the cartoons we watched become pops of color, snippets of light and sound. Always sounds. That's what I remember most, anyway. Is it really that hard to believe that maybe you saw something disturbing as a kid, buried in those hazy memories?
You have to go inside.
The best creepypasta to examine this fear with is another Lost Episode type, only instead of SpongeBob, it's a fictional show. Candle Cove.
You guys remember Candle Cove?
That show gave me the worst nightmares.
To this day, it's my favorite one of all time. The story is framed like a chat room, where multiple people reminisce about the past, including this creepy TV show they all watched as kids, Candle Cove. Slowly, they piece together their memories. Hey, that puppet was pretty disturbing, right? And what about those awful, shrill screams in the background? Do you remember those? And in the repressed puzzle they assemble, the true horror of Candle Cove shines through. Go read it now for a chill. This pasta was even made into a pretty solid show by Syfy. Video on that later. So yeah, let's talk real-world examples. It goes without saying that there aren't any real lost episodes as graphic or gruesome as the subjects of these stories. At least to my knowledge. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But there are plenty of oddities. First off, this Wikipedia article is fascinating. These are all lost animations, either because original copies were destroyed or their creators died before finishing. Nothing too creepy, but worth a read. But you may be wondering, how can something like this be destroyed? Well, from the mid-50s to the 70s, an estimated 60 to 70% of original programming made by the BBC was lost, erased, as the physical tapes were reused for other shows. There were no cloud backups then. This even includes a chunk of original Doctor Who. Only 57 of the 253 episodes were found immediately. As years went on, the search for the missing ones continued. Some were found in the basement of a Mormon church, in a Nigerian television station, yard sales, you name it. 97 episodes remain lost to this day. The same thing happened to an old American network, Dumont. It was the 50s, and no one was yet concerned with preservation. Thousands of episodes were lost, and get this, 300 Dumont kinescopes were found in an Iowa popcorn factory after having been kept by one of the network's makeup artists. Folks, these are the real lost episodes. Some episodes are only lost depending on where you live. There are the infamous Pokemon episodes banned in the West. One features a rifle pointed at Ash Ketchum, and the other features James with boobs. There's also a recent Pokemon episode that's entirely lost, never released anywhere. It features a climactic battle and the destruction of cities due to seismic activity. It was to air in Japan in March of 2011, just after the Sendai earthquakes led to the meltdown at Fukushima power plant. Ren and Stimpy is a weird show, eh? It began on Nickelodeon and was controversial from the start for its off-color humor, sexual innuendos, and violence. It was canceled and eventually revived as an adults-only show for a brief stint. The episode that broke the camel's back, Season 2, Episode 4. The banned episode that led to creator John Kricfalusi's firing. Man's best friend. In it, titular character Ren beats George Liquor senseless with a boat oar. This was deemed too violent and the episode was pulled. But let's get to the heart of the matter. Has there ever been a lost Spongebob episode? Well, maybe. On November 22nd, 2011, a strange listing appeared on Amazon. It was for a live-action, straight-to-DVD spoof of SpongeBob, A Day with Spongebob Squarepants, the movie, complete with box art, synopsis, and product details like runtime and which studio made it. No one had ever heard of it. It wasn't announced and teased, it just appeared. The excitement would probably stop there, but fans and curious onlookers ran into a problem. There wasn't a single copy in stock. There was never a single copy in stock. Cue mass hysteria, rioting in the streets, and frothing at the mouth at the premise of an internet mystery not getting solved. And myself and the sleuths got on it. We quickly realized this thing is one big lost episode. And thoroughly lost. No clips existed online, valid ones anyway. All we had to go on was the short synopsis. In this mockumentary, SpongeBob lives above the ground like all Hollywood superstars. Afraid that SpongeBob is becoming old news, his boss runs a contest called Spend a Day with SpongeBob. The contest makes SpongeBob the talk of the town, as thousands of kids enter to win. The lucky winner is Seth, and he is ecstatic about his day with SpongeBob. However, the day becomes a roller coaster ride as things don't go quite the way they planned. But it gets weirder. Turns out the quotes on the box art from adoring critics are all fake. The critics don't exist. Innovism Films, the production company credited, also doesn't exist. Even the smiling kid on the cover, Seth, is actually a stock image. As far as evidence goes for the film's actual existence, it's pretty nil. There was a tweet from 2012 in which someone said they were watching the film. 3 years later, we descended on that Twitter account. To my knowledge, that person never responded in any way. I find this tweet very odd. This guy almost certainly never watched a film that doesn't exist. It seems likely that this tweet is the result of some software automation that crawls or scrapes Amazon.com for titles in the movies and TV category. Then tweets, watching, insert title here. Why this would exist, I don't know. Could have been paid viral marketing, or just a software experiment, as us developers are wont to do. Maybe it was time to throw in the towel. Nobody was talking. But then, a breakthrough. The original creator, going by the pseudonym Mr. Orange, gave a credible interview with a YouTube channel. What he revealed was kinda a mixed bag. The concept for the movie was very much real. It just never got made. See, Mr. Orange had an idea for a SpongeBob parody film. He wrote a script despite worrying about getting sued by Viacom and shopped it around. A small distribution company nibbled. They agreed to publish promotional materials online to gauge interest. Hence the fake box art and Amazon listing. I'd say interest gauged. Still, the movie never got made. Parts of the script were shared after all this time. Link below. It's nothing special. What made it special was how elusive it was. But with the mystery solved, the movie was quickly forgotten. Relegated to history and videos like this one. What do you think about lost episode stories? Got any lost episodes, real or imaginary, you'd like to share? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe and hit the bell or you'll probably never see my small channel again. A big thanks to the patrons, and as always, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for watching.